Hey everyone, I hope this video finds you doing all right. I'm going to be a little bit more vulnerable with this video and give you a peek into me and what I've been thinking and feeling lately. Every time I would post something on social media about what I've been reading or the thoughts that I'm having, and I would get a ding or a notification that said someone commented, I would get this gut-wrenching nervousness in me. And it was weird because I started to look at it, I was like, why is that happening? And it was because I was nervous or worried that someone was about to start disagreeing with me. Now what's funny about that is outwardly, a lot of the reason why I outwardly, consciously do those things is for people to disagree with me, because at the end of the day, I can be honest, I want open-ended conversation to happen, but I would start to get nervous when these people would comment, right? This is what I wanted, because I was so afraid that they would disagree with me. And it's because, well, I stopped, and today I was like, why is that? And it's because I was worried that people wouldn't like me. I was worried that they'd be mad at me. I was worried that they'd be upset with me. And then I was like, okay, well, why am I so afraid to upset people? And I don't know if you guys have ever felt this way, or maybe you're like this, but I just genuinely am pretty much a happy guy, and I want everybody else to be happy. And for that reason, a lot of times I want to be accepted, or I just want to be liked. And it's bad, because I mean, it can lead to me compromising who I am for other people to be liked. It's never been terribly bad like that, because I've tried to stick close to my morals, but it can ultimately lead to, you know, this internal anxiety and this internal downness. And I have to realize, and I have realized today, that the ideas aren't mine. What do I mean by that? Well, Carl Jung, the gist of his teaching psychologically was that people don't have ideas. Ideas have people. And that's because ideas, literally, psychologically speaking, are living embodiments of archetypal origins, meaning emotions and ideas and instincts are deeply rooted inside of who you are, and they're deeply eternal. They're not just, they don't just end and begin with you. So emotions, drives, ideas, oftentimes, you've heard the term, there's nothing new under the sun. It's because ideas have been under the sun eternally forever. Now, we can mix and match those ideas and combine them into new things to create newness. But for the most part, whenever you have an idea, it's usually the idea speaking through you, not you owning the idea. It's the same with emotions a lot of times. Most of us today, we go about, because we've inherited this worldview from the scientific revolution, that we only focus on the external, right? And then we think that our human intellect is the top dog of reality. And that's a relatively new thought. That really happened about 500 years ago. There's tens of thousands of years worth of thinking that said otherwise. But because of this, we so often think that I own my ideas, I own my emotions. And unfortunately, psychology has showed us that it's the other way around. That a lot of times, those ideas, those emotions, they own you. Now, we have to be aware of this. I'm not taking your autonomy away from you. There's still control that you have. And I'm just saying that we so much focus on our external work and don't focus on the internal work that's required of us. When you realize this, when you realize that a lot of times emotion and ideas, they come from some other place. Your identity's not wrapped in that. You still have a responsibility, though, for them. You are a culture of ideas. Culture in its truest sense, meaning a plant-like substance, or a garden. You're a garden, and you are the gardener of your own garden. So you have to prune and keep that intact, keep it beautiful, keep it under control. Don't let it all go to hell. Now, coming back to insecurities, coming back to wanting to be accepted, you have to realize your identity is not wrapped up in your ideas. So often, and I need to realize this, but so often I used to criticize other people externally, because when they'd get challenged, when their ideas would get challenged, an argument would break out. And I would always be like, well, that's because they think their ideas are this little raft that they stand on in an endless ocean. And they think if I attack that idea, that belief or whatever it is, I'm pulling out the logs of the raft underneath them, and they're going to drown, right? And they think that that raft is them. They think that's their identity. They think it's the only thing keeping them afloat. Well, that's not the case. And I needed to learn that message too. And I learned it today. So I don't need external people, external personalities anymore to validate who I am. I'm working on validating who I am every day now. I'm working on providing value for myself and accepting myself. I had to come to the point where it's like, okay, I'm looking in the external world for acceptance, in the external world to be liked, right? I want to be liked by people. I want to be liked by my coworkers and my students. Well, that's because I don't like myself yet. I don't know if you ever thought about that. And that kind of hit me like a 10-ton Brit. I had to stop and be like, okay, do I truly like myself? Well, then I came to the next thought. It's like, well, myself hasn't fully been formed yet. I'm still becoming who I am. And I got to fall in love with that process. And I got to fall in love with who's being birthed in that process. But I that might seem simple to you, but I've never, I don't know, it's like once I had that conscious thought myself, it changed the game because now I can focus on it. I just had never consciously thought it. I'd never vocalized it, right? I just kept on going on my own way and looking at that externally, looking to the external world for solutions and then criticizing people externally. This also helps me with my judging of other people. When you realize that a lot of times ideas have people, people don't have ideas, then my relationship with you is not everything's on the line. See, I used to get so upset when people get mad at me. Siblings, we would fight. Friends, we would fight, and I'd get mad, and it would worry me. Now I realize a lot of times they're not mad at me. Our relationship's not on the line. Everything who I am isn't wrong because this person is mad at me, right? So much of my identity was wrapped up in my ideas, and so when you were mad at me, and I did something wrong, I would be like, oh my gosh, this is an existential crisis. Who I am is wrong. I feel like some people might be going through that. That's not the case. A lot of times, like I'm saying, the idea isn't you, the emotion usually isn't you, and it's that way on the other side with another person. A lot of times when someone's mad at you, who knows what they got going on? I mean, we don't even, individually, me personally, we don't even pay enough attention to ourselves internally and the unconscious drives that control us. And you're thinking that the person that's angry with you or upset with you or whatever emotion they're showing externally right now, you think that's all there is to the story? That's not all there is to the story. Who knows what they got going on in their own lives, let alone underneath in the deep unconscious side of their being. I mean, they might not even be aware that they are possessed by an emotion or possessed by an archetypal figure because of their issues that they had as a child. You might not be aware of that, but I'm just saying this realization helps you judge people less harshly. It helps you, I would hope, it's helping me approach a situation where if we come to a disagreement or an argument or you're upset with me, that I can approach it relaxed and easily, and we can try to find a central ground, because I realize it's not so personal. And that's really the gist of what I'm saying, is we got to stop taking things so personally. A lot of times the sickness or the symptom is a clue to what's really going on. So if the symptom is insecurity, if the symptom is lacking in acceptance or lacking in self-acceptance, if the symptom is constantly seeking outward validation, those are all clues to an internal issue, which I believe, at least for me, is to be linked to us taking things too personally. We think constantly that the emotions and the ideas that we have are who we are as a person. So we take it personally when those things are at the foreground of battle. Those aren't who we are as a person. Now, that might be scary to you. It means you got to figure out who you are as a person, and that means you got to go inward. But I think it can be freeing. It's been freeing for me. I've been doing this own internal research myself. Stop taking it so personal. Stop taking your emotions and your ideas so personal. Your ideas aren't who you are. And a lot of times, they're archetypally eternal. They brew up from the deeps. All right? That does not strip you of responsibility, though. You still have a responsibility to cultivate and to protect and to beautify the garden that is who you are. I hope that helps somebody.